Welcome to episode 3 of In Other Worlds, a podcast series presented by the Department of Modern Languages and Cultures at Baylor University. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views or positions of the Department of Modern Languages and Cultures or Baylor University. Our guests today are Professor Eva Hruska and Kiley Towne. Professor Hruska is a senior lecturer in Russian in the Department of Modern Languages and Cultures, and Kiley is a graduate student in the Department of Theater Arts. So thank you both for coming today. We've invited Kiley and Professor Hruska to join us for a conversation about an exciting production of Czech playwright Karel Čapek's RUR. And they are using an English translation created by Professor Hruska. So it's very much a collaboration and team effort. Kiley is directing the production and decided in her research to choose this translation. So we're going to discuss the production and find out some particulars. So Kiley, we'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you began your studies at Baylor, etc.?
Yes. So I started out as a dancer, and I danced from the age 2 to 18. Then I started teaching dance. So that was my first passion in the performing arts. And then whenever I got to college at Texas A&M University Commerce, which now has a new name, I studied acting and directing for my bachelor's degree. I then went into a master's degree in general theater. So we did a lot of theater history and criticism as well as performance. But my dream was always to get my master's of fine arts in directing. So it's just such a blessing that I was accepted into the program. I started a few years ago. This is my 3rd and final year of my program, and I'm just so excited to be here.
And RUR then is your thesis production, is that correct?
Yes, it is. So this is the culmination of everything that we've learned in our program, and this is the final thing that we'll be directing, and we get to perform our piece on the Baylor main stage, which is such an awesome opportunity that they allow us to have as Masters of Fine Arts students.
Yes, that's great. Professor Hruska, can you give us a little background on Karel Čapek and RUR?
Sure, and thank you for having me. So Karel Čapek was a Czech writer, playwright, short story writer, journalist, essayist, philosopher, you name it. So Karel Čapek managed to do everything in kind of a short period of time because he died at age 48, right before the kind of Nazi invasion of Czechoslovakia. Probably a blessing to him, since he was kind of on the list of people to be arrested. He wrote RUR in 1920. It was one of his earlier works that he produced. And he was thinking about writing a play based on the different emotions that maybe the very young first Czechoslovak Republic was experiencing during that time. A lot of anxiety, a lot of excitement, but also a lot of anxiety, fear. And there's this idea of progress and where this progress is going. That's kind of the premise of RUR. When he thought about creating artificial beings that would take on job and labor of humans.
Okay, tell us then, RUR.
RUR.
What do these letters mean?
In English, it stands for Rozum's Universal Robots, and in Czech, it's Rozumovi univerzální roboti. Rozum is the brain behind these artificial beings. He is the original architect, the original scientist. In Czech, the word rozum means mind, brain. knowledge. Yeah.
Okay,
hmm
great. All right, so I have to ask, what prompted you to take on this tedious task of translating this play?
I was I was in grad school at that time, and my advisor, my academic advisor, Dr. Eva Hruska, approached me after talking to, I believe, the chair at that point of the KU theater department. I was at KU, John Stanionis, and they were looking for a different translation of RUR. My advisor approached me and asked me if this is something I would want to undertake, if I would want to look at the translations and the original, and do that for them. And I was very excited about this prospect. I didn't know that much about Čapek at this point, even though I was studying Czech, but my knowledge of Čapek was very superficial. I knew kind of he was a very important writer during the interwar period in the first Czechoslovak Republic. That's about it. And I actually didn't know much about RUR. So I took the opportunity to get the original and get the different translations that were available to us at the time. And I have noticed the problem right away. There was a problem. There was a discrepancy between the Czech and the English. The English sounded very highfalutin, very stale, very slow. Which was in direct opposite of what the original sounded like. The original was very typically Czech, very quick banter back and forth, and funny as well. So I felt like the humor was missing and the speed of the language was missing.
Well, I have to say that I found, when I read your translation, that I found it to be a very quick read for one, and the language sounds very much like the way people speak. So it moves quickly, right? Now, so did they end up using your translation in a production at University of Kansas, or did you do a live reading, or how did that work out?
There was a live reading at a conference that took place in October 2009. It was, let me see if I can get the title correct. It was called Central Europe 1989 Lessons and Legacies Conference. A lot of Central European scholars of Central Europe came together for presentations, and one of the entertainment or presentation was staged reading by actors of my translation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was roughly a 20-year commemoration since the Velvet Revolution.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was for.
Great. You've talked a little bit before about some challenges. Can you name some particular challenges in the translation work for RUR?
After I read Čapek, I will start from there. After I read Čapek, I really fell in love with the play, and I fell in love with Čapek as a writer. And from very early on, I realized I wanted to do justice to this amazing writer. So when I started translating, I really struggled with staying true to his word, exactly how he meant it to sound, and also just making it sound natural in English, and not just some kind of an awkward translation. So I think that was the original challenge. That was the first challenge. It's like, am I matching the language and the emotion that Čapek is trying to put forth, and am I also making it sound natural and just kind of fluent in English? Yeah, that would be the main challenge. A Czech is littered with different euphemisms. In Czech language, we like to do a lot of, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and, especially a lot of religious euphemisms. And that was kind of a challenge. The language of Nana in the play is very colloquial, and I was struggling with how do I write her into kind of a colloquial English? What am I going to use? So that Nana was challenging. Yes.
It seems successful. It seems like you hit the right note there. Yes. So, Kiley, we'll come back to you now. So, when you were thinking about which play that you would produce for your thesis production, how did you land on Chopek? What prompted you to choose this play?
Yeah, so in my first year here at Baylor, I really fell in love with 1920s avant-garde theater. It became my passion. And so in talking to my mentor, David Jortner, we were just having a discussion, throwing out names of different plays that we knew, and he mentioned RUR. And I looked it up. I fell in love with just the storyline of it. I read one of the original translations, and then I decided that I really, really wanted to read Eva's after Eva sent it our way, and that made me fall in love with the script even more. So yeah,
Okay.
that
Well, tell me, how did you make the connection with Professor Hruska? How did you know that she had a translation, and how did that happen?
It was a wonderful just experience, and that David Jortner and I were just reaching out to the language studies department, asking if anybody knew of a great translation of the text, and then
And she goes,
Eva
I
had
know
one.
one. I know of one. Yeah, great.
It wasn't me. It was actually Dr. Harris responded to that email because she knew about my translation. She was also at the conference that I mentioned earlier. And yeah, I was not going to put forth my translation.
Well, have you found there to be any particular challenges for you as a director in working on RUR? Can you speak about that?
Yeah, so just the fact that it was written over 100 years ago feels to the actors like there could be a disconnect between them and the text. However, we in the production and working with the designers, I chose to use the lens of retrofuturism. So we're keeping the vernacular of the 1920s, we're keeping the technology of the 20s, but imagining what the 20s, the 50s, the 60s were thinking of what the future would look like. And so that really helped with that specific challenge of how do we make this play seem futuristic, even though it was written over 100 years ago. And the designers for the production just started having wonderful ideas and so much fun with it. So that's something I'm really looking forward to people seeing.
Have in any of your discussions with designers or actors or anyone, have you thought about the link between our current situation with AI and the fears that people have about what AI might be able to do to people's jobs and things? Has that been a part?
Absolutely, especially in the arts. There's so much conversation about AI taking over the jobs of artists, especially. Recently, there's the robotic actor. So thinking about that, and our actors are feeling like that might be the future of where they're going and what's going to happen to them in the future when and if that happens. So we've had a lot of conversations of, oh my goodness, we really don't like this thing, but how are we going to tell this story that that shows that AI can be a good thing, and it can also cause very, very bad things, especially on a college campus for college students.
So it's amazing to me that you're taking a work that's over 100 years old and how relevant it is right now. Right now.
Absolutely.
How have your actors responded to the story? Have they enjoyed it, or?
Oh, they've enjoyed it so much. When I first announced that was the play that I was going to be directing, they had never heard of it, but in researching it and talking about it and thinking about the connections of that work to so many different science fiction touchstones that we see in media now, that started the excitement for it. And then it just escalated with the actors and designers of just being so excited about this production. Performing as a artificial intelligence bioengineered robot is not something that you get to do every day as an actor. So they have really gotten excited about that and had a great time in figuring out how that plays out on stage.
Sure. So what would you like audiences to walk away from having seen your production? What would you like them to take away with them?
Yeah, so especially thinking about being on a college campus, thinking about the good things that AI can do for us and the not great things that it can do for us whenever it's doing our writing for us in classes. That's taking the opportunity of learning on your own away from a student, and in RUR, it causes the downfall of humanity. So I hope that this play helps show the good aspects and the not so good aspects, so that the audience is able to think about that and come up with their own ideas about what that means in their own lives,
Sure.
and go from there.
Great. Professor Hruska, what will you think is the biggest takeaway from the play?
I think there's so many, but I love Chapek's ending. Chapek wanted to and struggled with
Don't
it.
give it away.
I'm not gonna give it away, but no spoiler alert. But there is hope.
Mhm.
So yes, there is destruction of humanity. Yes, there is humans allowing these artificial robotic beings to take over. But at the end, we end in a glimmer of hope. And I think that is just beautiful about this
Is it
play.
only a glimmer of hope?
It's a glimmer.
Just a glimmer.
Yeah, I mean, there's, there's a glimmer of hope and there's a little bit of ambiguity, but I think we know where that is going.
Ambiguity is good.
Mhm, mhm.
So Kiley, what's next for you after graduation with your MFA? What do you plan to do? Where do you plan to go? Where do you plan to be?
My goal is to be a professor of theater, to continue teaching college students acting, directing, dance, stage movement. Those are my passions, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Great. And Professor Hruska, what projects do you have on the horizon? Another translation? A Copic story or novel or something?
I'm currently not working on, actually, okay, let me rephrase that. I am always working on something. And I have about 5 different projects that are in, stages of very beginning to somewhere in the middle to almost finished. So I have multiple projects going on. I do translate in my free time. And often I translate Slovak literature just for me, for my family. My nieces are 8 and 3 years old, and I make these little mini Slovak books for them, just to kind of teach them some words and translate little stories and fairy tales for them. So it's something that I work on the side, and I also love to work on creating new courses.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that's another passion of mine. Yeah.
Okay. So Kiley, give us some details. When and where can people see RUR?
Yes, so it will be in the Hooper Schaefer Fine Arts Center. We're performing in the Maybe Theater, which is a really interesting space. It's a thrust stage, so you'll be very close to the actors, which is really wonderful and fascinating, especially for this story and this script. Our run is from December 2nd through the 7th. The December 2nd through the 6th, it will be at 7:30 p.m. And then the Sunday performance on the 7th will be at 2 p.m.
Great. So we've come to the end of our time today, and I want to thank our guests, Professor Eva Hruska again, and Kiley Towne from the Department of Theater Arts. And if you're in the Waco area, get your tickets for RUR, which runs, as Kiley said, December 2nd through 6th at 7:30 p.m. and December 7th, a Sunday matinee performance. Tickets will be on sale beginning November 18th. Isn't that correct? Yes. Please join us next month when we will have a guest host who will be Dr. Stephen Sloan from the Department of History and also the director of the Oral History Institute at Baylor. And I will actually be a guest with my colleague, Dr. Julie DeGraffenried, who is the chair of the History Department. And we'll be discussing a new book that we have co-edited together with a colleague in the UK. So please join us again for episode 4 of In Other Worlds.